In case you missed it, here is the DOGE report for today. So where is our money actually being spent? Well, they found that $3 million is being used to study steroid-enhanced hamster fighting. I think you could just go to like a bar at night, watch a couple dudes get into it, and know what steroids will do for a fight, okay?
It doesn't make any sense. Everybody knows that. I'm just surprised with all the internet. You didn't know that might happen the same way it's going to happen to the rats.
$2.3 million has been used for studying cocaine effects on beagles. Why don't you just spend about $1,500, get yourself a Coachella ticket, get a lawn chair, sit back and watch. You'll understand what cocaine does to anyone. Coachella, just go there.
That's like somebody wants to find out if they just ram 4 fingers up my bum, if it's going to be painful. Everybody knows you need lotion.
$600,000 in parrot romance. That's important. It's definitely really important, actually. We'll keep that.
Parrot romance?
$500,000 in racial aggression in mice. I'm sorry, do mice give a shit? They just want your food. They don't care if you're black, you're white, you're Asian. They don't care. They just probably want to get your food and your crumbs and in your house and on the streets and gross, okay?
That one does make sense. Mice is like the government creating regulation, trying to find all the food that you might left on the floor.
1.1 million training mice to binge drink. Just go to UGA, pick a sorority house, pick a fraternity house, watch them on the weekends. They'll binge drink. Study the effects after that. Free. Just again, lawn chair. See, I think we should just promote buying a couple of lawn chairs and go to a couple of these events. You'll get all the studies you need and willing participants.
I just don't understand why they're doing so much for things that they can do for free for so much money, because it gives them the feeling of the moral points. Because if it isn't feeling of the moral points, it's money laundering.
2.1 million encouraging Ethiopians to wear shoes. That's effective for Americans. Thank God.
Are you telling me you're going to research maybe also why they might eat with their hands and not with fork?
That's where our money is going. We know we can't buy groceries, but let's make sure those Ethiopians wear their shoes. I can't even get my kid to put their shoes on. Okay, can we maybe put a little money in that? Or sometimes I'm like, where's the other shoe? Why do you only have one? What happened to the second one? 187,000 verifying that kids love their pets. Unless you're raising Jeffrey Dahmer, your kids like their pets. It's just natural. Most people like pets more than like humans. I know. I do.
Did you guys pick up on that?
Sure did. Something's wrong.
Should we ask her?
Let's probe, but keep it subtle so she doesn't notice.
2.7 million studying Russian cats on treadmills. Why don't we take 2.7 million and try to encourage more Americans to use treadmills?
Ooh, that might have hurt a little.
Finally, 875,000 studying cocaine effects on quail mating. Again, lawn chair, sorority fraternity house, a good party. Watch what happens when cocaine enters the room.
I find it very interesting. There's a lot of research about people using drugs, which I find odd, as if somebody's saying, I really want to research this effect everywhere so I can be closer to the thing.
So in case you missed it, that is where your hard-earned dollars are going this week in the DOGE report.
But hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is this guy, Director of Government Oversight. He has something to say about the supposed waste that doesn't exist.
Waste is different from fraud. Fraud is different from abuse, and abuse is different from both.
Right.
When we talk about improper payments, they are a subset of those other 3 categories. But that doesn't tell us the whole picture either. Sometimes improper payments are a function of bad record keeping. Sometimes they are a function of outdated information technology systems. Sometimes they come about through human error, and sometimes they come about through negligence. There are a variety of reasons why improper payments happen.
Check in a money market mutual fund. Then we'll reinvest the earnings into foreign currency accounts with compounding interest, and it's gone.
It just simply is not the case that improper payments are only a function of bad people doing bad things with bad intent.
First of all, I can't look at your eyes, so I don't like that. Second of all, you can sit still, which might be...
I'm blind!
No, quiet! You have the head mask on! You have the sleep mask thing on!
Help me! Help me!
You're not blind, right? You're not blind.
Waste is not fraud. It might be true. But what did you do to help with the waste? Because a person wants to stop everything to avoid the waste, so it's not fraud, so we can make sure nothing is wasted. There's a lot of people angry about that. And Community Note corrected me. He is not the Director of Government Oversight. He is the Director of Government Affairs for an NGO called POGO, Project on Government Oversight. Bopolaginek. Did you see what they did? Look at that name. I'm not a cheater. I'm just work in the Department of Law Affairs. Hashtag cheaters. I'm like, you guys are so dumb with these names. It's so stupid. Dilo, remember to subscribe.
What meaning does democracy actually have? If the people cannot vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy. We live in a bureaucracy. So it's incredibly important that we close that feedback loop, we fix that feedback loop, and that the public's elected representatives, the president, the House, and the Senate, decide what happens, as opposed to a large unelected bureaucracy. This is not to say that there are good people who are in the federal bureaucracy, but you can't have an autonomous federal bureaucracy. You have to have one that is responsive to the people. That's the whole point of a democracy. And if you looked at this, if you asked the founders today and said, what do you think of the way things have turned out? Well, we have this unelected, fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. And this is not something that people want, and it does not match the will of the people. So it's just something we've got to fix. And then we've also got to address the deficit. So we've got a $2 trillion deficit, and if we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt. I mean, it's really astounding that the interest payments alone on the national debt exceed the Defense Department budget, which is shocking because we spend a lot of money on defense. But and if that just keeps going, we're essentially going to bankrupt the country. So what I really want to say is, like, it's not optional for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential. It's essential for America to remain solvent as a country, and it's essential for America to have the resources necessary to provide things to its citizens and not simply be servicing vast amounts of debt.
What I find odd with the people on the left that are saying that Elon Musk is unelected, don't you understand the government, the things that he's going after, it's filled with unelected people making unelected decisions that nobody voted for. Like, it's like a foreign identity that says, I'm American, but I don't care about Americans.
Traitor! This is a massive fraud that's taken place. And then you have judges that are activists, and they sit there and they say, oh, as an example, $59 million going to a little small group in New York City. You get nothing going to North Carolina to help nothing. They say, we don't have any money because they've given it away on the border. But you have nothing. What they did to North Carolina is a shame. And then they sent $59 million to New York City for a hotel for a little bit of nothing, what they've done. A hotel that was not luxury, that's getting luxury rates for migrants, where they're making a fortune. And we catch them. But a judge says, well, even though it may be a fraud, you have to send the money in anyway.
Hypocrisy, my friend.
Send the money. I said, wait a minute. We have money that shouldn't go because we caught it before it was sent out. But they want the money to go anyway.
Okay, that makes sense.
Help your own people with your own money. Let's start there. You know, it's nice to help here and there, but let's start with your own people. And then suddenly, you make a decision on a federal level, and you got a bunch of judges here and there in the blue city. Well, we disagree with this.
Many outlets in this room have been fear-mongering the American people into believing there is a constitutional crisis taking place here at the White House. I've been hearing those words a lot lately. But in fact, the real constitutional crisis is taking place within our judicial branch. where district court judges in liberal districts across the country are abusing their power to unilaterally block President Trump's basic executive authority. We believe these judges are acting as judicial activists rather than honest arbiters of the law, and they have issued at least 12 injunctions against this administration in the past 14 days, often without citing any evidence or grounds for their lawsuits. This is part of a larger concerted effort by Democrat activists and nothing more than the continuation of the weaponization of justice against President Trump. Quick news flash to these liberal judges who are supporting their obstructionist efforts. 77 million Americans voted to elect this president. And each injunction is an abuse of the rule of law and an attempt to thwart the will of the people. As the president clearly stated in the Oval Office yesterday, we will comply with the law in the courts, but we will also continue to seek every legal remedy to ultimately overturn these radical injunctions and ensure President Trump's policies can be enacted.
And they did, and they won. Here's the review of the result.
So clarifying that the government can limit access to federal funds on the basis of the applicable authorizing statutes, regulations, and terms. Essentially, yes, the government can do so in complying with regulations, and then that the previous order does not bar both the president and much of the federal government from exercising their own lawful authorities to withhold funding without the prior approval of the district court, meaning, again, they can disperse the monies that they were allocated within the law, within the confines of the law, and that the government does not have to seek pre-clearance from the courts on terminating funding as long as they have the authority to do it as governed by the applicable statutory, regulatory, or grant terms. So essentially, the court is confirming what the Trump administration has maintained and what common sense can project, which is that within the confines of regulatory and normal authority, of course, you can do what you want with your own money, and you don't need a court's approval to do so.
And they can do what they want with that money if the citizen has chosen that person to manage that money, not a judge.
That's a damn shame.
Little liberal in the liberal town. Hey, well, the 59 for the people, millions, we're going to send them, help the migrants in hotels, $700 a night.
There's a difference between saying whether you're complying with the law and then you have these individual district court judges setting effectively broad federal policy that is specifically reserved for the president of the United States. I think we do have a constitutional crisis, and it's being caused by these judges. They're not here to tell us. They're not here to tell us how to spend the money. They're not here to set broad federal policy. That is the president's job as elected by the people. These judges are supposed to be settling discrete, specific matters, not policy setting. I think Vance is right. I think Trump has a point. And these judges want nothing more to continue the lawfare against
I don't
Trump.
think anybody's in the executive branch saying, no, I don't feel like it, and the courts say you have to.
Well, my answer to that simply is, it is the executive branch's job to figure out how to spend money once it is appropriated by Congress. And sometimes they spend money that's not been appropriated. But the correct political control is between the executive and the Congress, not some random federal judge.
There are not repercussions. You get away with it.
I get it. You want individual federal judges who hate Donald Trump.
No, I don't.
To tie him up for 4 years.
No, I don't.
If you want a big
Not
policy questions decided, let the Supreme Court do it. But in the interim, the executive has to be allowed to govern.
Am I wrong about that?
Well, you're supposed to comply, but Scott's absolutely right in that the court cannot say you have to spend these dollars today. So as a governor, I dealt with this. We got things challenged in state court and federal court. It's all judge shopped, by the way. Judges don't randomly get these cases. There's a reason that these cases are filed in Boston, the Boston court, or a certain district, Rhode Island, because they know they're going to get a judge.
You raise the right point. Yeah. Should the president, the singular president, should he have to share the presidency with 300 district court judges? No, absolutely not.
But the point, though, you made a really good point that there have been judges that shut down some of President Biden's executive actions, and they understand. The Biden administration understood that the checks and balances.
The Supreme Court tried to stop me, but they never will.
But not in the way that Donald Trump is.
Who said that? Joe Biden.
Yeah,
Joe
but
Biden.
Donald Trump, he actually didn't ignore it.
He did. Right. They continue to plow forward with stupid.
Let us investigate.
The Supreme Court of the United States blocked me, but they didn't stop me.
I think these people at CNN forget that most people have receipts, and it's very easy to find it on Twitter.
This is a buffalo drop. Do you know those buffalo jumps?
No.
You know what the Native Americans used to, one of the ways to hunt buffalo was to get them to the edge of a cliff and just run at them, and they just fall off the edge of the cliff, and then people would be waiting on the bottom, and they butcher them and eat them.
Okay.
We're in that pile of buffalo.
We're all being run off the cliff?
Yeah, they're going to go off the cliff. There's no way they're not.
Yeah.
They're not course correcting at all.
He's right. Democrats are doubling down. And I think it's going to get worse.
The people of this country are being violated because all of our privacy is being taken up by Elon Musk and Trump, and we don't know what all they have on us.
We don't know what they have on us. So that's what you're worried. What they have on you. Because they're doing an audit. That's suspicious.
That were being paid to someone that was technically 150 years old. He was talking about line items in the Treasury that had no justification.
There's no any actual, like he doesn't present any actual evidence.
Well, he's standing there in the Oval Office. Do you expect him to come in with 10,000 pages? And I have to be clear, to complain about this administration about transparency, when this president takes open questions on a daily basis, yet Joe Biden didn't show up for a press conference this 6 months, is insane. Well, these guys are being extremely transparent. They don't have to sit there and take the questions, but they do. It's all on the website. It's all out there.
It's not transparency to say things that have no factual background. I mean, to say we're cutting, we've found $1 billion or $1 trillion in waste with no specifics, that's just talk. That's not transparency.
It's 23 days in here, guys. 23 days. You were talking about 2.3 billion that was saved last year. These guys are saving 2.3 billion a day.
Right, but
it's incredible.
That's what they're saying. But where's the proof?
You're waiting. You're not going to be satisfied till he shows up with 10,000 pages.
But we're talking about 10,000 pages.
Yeah.
He's giving very specific things,
yes, he's giving
but he's not actually giving any evidence of that.
It's all going to come because what they also said was, if we have to go to Congress, we'll go to Congress.
Right, but
we'll show where it is.
Some of the details that have come out, like the $59 million spent on luxury hotels, it's actually not.
You're talking about the FEMA money that was abused for migrants. That was.
Yeah.
FEMA money for migrants, that's okay now?
No, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. Don't put words in my mouth.
So would you stop that? Would you stop that process?
Don't be a dick. What I'm saying.
I thought it was interesting when he said, hey, give people $59 million to help immigrants at a luxury hotel. Do you find that okay? Should we do something about it? He could have said, that's good, that's not bad, whatever. No, he decided to say, don't be a dick. I'm like, no, why don't you answer?
Don't get me wrong. Ako sa kita bong, puta fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk criollo colombici jam jam tur loqueta verdeta welcome.